If you love me, please don't judge me. Got my hands tied, the power's above me. Don't shoot the messenger, I'm just a puppet here. If you wanna place blame, then look to the puppeteer. Family, fortune, envy, jealousy, privilege, passed on, legacy, secret, sabotage, borderline, felony, suicide, subtract, selfish, pedigree, yeah.
Jesus Christ, how much more evidence do you need that this chase format is so fucking broken and that it rewards mediocrity and fucks over the best driver throughout the season? It is goddamn stupid that a driver that's been 15th in points all fucking season is going to compete for a fucking championship and won't finish any lower than 4th in the points. How the fuck is that acceptable for a championship, for a champion? Or at least a championship contender. As, yeah, I think we all know where Jimmy Johnson's lucky golden horseshoe now ended up after it left the 48 car. It somehow ended up in asshole McFuckface's 22 Mustang. God, I hate Logano so fucking much. He might be worse than fucking Kyle Busch when Kyle Busch hatred was at its peak. Back when it was popular to hate Kyle Busch. But before we go on and I lose some more brain cells over Logano bullshitting his way into another Final Four appearance on an even number year, let's at least take a look at how the rest of the weekend fared out. So starting off, we had the Xfinity race at Vegas, and this Xfinity race was pretty much Allmendinger domination throughout much of this race. As for the first time this year, Allmendinger actually lived up to his potential and actually had speed for once. How convenient. Well, Allmendinger's been mediocre all fucking season. All of a sudden, he shows up in the round of 8. Yeah, even though it's really early on in the race, it looked like it was going to be a battle between Chandler Smith and Allgaier, even with Allgaier winning our stage. But then Allgaier, he ended up having another second half collapse. This time, it wasn't just bad luck. It's just simply the 7 team couldn't keep up with the ever-changing track conditions. And then losing track position on pit road. And once Allgaier lost the lead in the second half of the race, he never recovered. He was able to get up to at least 2nd or 3rd, but that's about as close as he would get. But in the later stages, Allmendinger would have quite a challenge, as Ryan Sieg actually showed up with speed, and Sieg actually made a run at Allmendinger trying to get the lead from him, even with a couple late cautions. As I'll be honest, if the caution for Sammy Smith stalling on the track for electrical issues didn't come out with the 6 to go, Sieg 100% would have won this race, because Sieg was just about to pass him when the caution came out. As, yeah, Sieg's car was good in the long runs, but not in the short runs. And even despite Sieg's best efforts in the 2-lap shootout, that wasn't a green-white checker because it was still within the scheduled distance. It's only a green-white checker if it goes past the scheduled distance. But anyway, in that 2-lap shootout, despite Sieg's best efforts, he could not get a run at Allmendinger. And A.J. Allmendinger gets his first win of the season as the road course merchant. Proves that he can still win on ovals in Xfinity. And with the win, A.J. Allmendinger, despite being around 6th to 10th in points all season, he will make the Final Four and get to compete for a championship all season, despite being mediocre as all hell this year and being a complete shell of his former self comparing to seasons like 2021 and 2022. Let's be honest, Allmendinger has no fucking business being anywhere in the Final Four. He's been mediocre all year. He's been a definition of mid. He's been a complete shell of himself. But because he showed up at Vegas, and conveniently it was the round of 8, he now gets to compete for a championship because he all of a sudden showed up in the round of 8 at the right time. Once again, another example of this format rewarding mediocrity once again. God, I fucking hate this goddamn format with a burning passion. Now we move on to the Modifieds race at North Wilkesboro, as this race at least has a legit championship format that doesn't make me question why the fuck I still watch this damn sport. Like, hell, if I stop watching Cup Xfinity and Trucks, I definitely won't stop watching Modifieds. I might just convert to it full time. which I already am, but, maybe given even more attention that it rightfully deserves. But anyway, for this race, this race was mainly the Justin Bonsignor show, as Bonsignor had the dominant car all race, while Ron Silk struggled to finish outside the top 10. Just Ron Silk's team completely missed the setup at North Wilkesboro, and even despite the best efforts from Austin Beers and Matt Hirschman in the closing laps, they just didn't have anything for Bonsignor. And Justin Bonsignor cruises and gets the win, and gets a bunch of crucial points that give him the championship lead entering the season finale at Martinsville next week. I'm honestly surprised the season finale's next week, because usually the modified season finale at Martinsville has been the same weekend as the Cup race at Martinsville. Kind of weird. I guess the modifieds don't want to rain on the Cup Series parade since Martinsville's an elimination race to decide the Final Four. But yeah, modified championship ends next week, and we got 3 drivers with a legit shot at the title, as it will be a 3-way fight between Bonsignor, Ron Silk, and Patrick Emmerling. And Justin Bonsignor enters 10 points ahead of Silk and about 23-24 points ahead of Patrick Emmerling. So, entering Martinsville, Justin Bonsignor will enter Martinsville controlling his own destiny, looking to add another modified championship. So, will Silk win and will Silk go back to back? Will Bonsignor add another modified title to his collection? Or does Patrick Emmerling spoil the party? Tune into Martinsville next weekend to find out. What an exciting championship battle. Once again, season-long points formats for the win. Over the gimmick chase garbage. And now we turn to the F1 race at COTA, as for the first time in a month, F1 is back in action, as F1 has returned to America for the second time this season as they race at COTA. And I know a lot of people are going to go in the comments because of how much I've ranted about how most all tracks in Cup Series should have only one date each. Everyone's going to be like, oh, why aren't you saying the same thing about F1 having 2-3 dates in USA, you fucking hypocrite? Well, here's the difference between that, folks. At least with the U.S., at least with F1's 3 dates in the U.S., at least it's 3 different fucking tracks and not the same fucking track for all 3. Same deal with the 2 races F1 has in Italy, where one's at Monza and the other's at Imola. While for the U.S.'s 3 races consists of a street race in Miami around Hard Rock, COTA, and then a street race on the streets of Las Vegas at night. So there's the reason why. There's my exception. I have no problem with them having multiple dates in the country, as long as it's different tracks on the schedule for more schedule diversity. That's the big thing I stress when I say every track on the Cup Series schedule should have 1 date each. For more schedule diversity on the schedule, to see who the real best drivers in the world in the sport are. But anyway, with that quick rant out of the way, let's now get back to the race itself. So the race itself, well, it was the Ferrari show. As in another rare turn of events, Ferrari didn't shit the bed with strategy. In fact, they really dominate for the early parts. Verstappen got the lead early, even getting more points by winning the sprint race here. Honestly, can F1 get rid of the fucking sprint races? I think it honestly lost its magic, and it's honestly become more of a fucking gimmick at this point. At least that gimmick is still more tolerable than the gimmick chase format in NASCAR. I mean, F1's already taken steps on getting rid of the gimmicks. They're already getting rid of the fastest lap point next year, bonus point next year. Even though I really never mind the fastest lap bonus point. It was a gimmick, yes, but it was one I think everyone didn't really mind, and we all tolerated it. I mean, everyone tolerates the fastest lap bonus point a lot more than the gimmick chase grid in NASCAR, that's for fucking sure. But I guess F1 wants to be a pure motorsport with no gimmicks, unlike NASCAR. Maybe NASCAR could take notes from F1 on how to be a real motorsport. But I highly doubt it, since NASCAR's getting sued and all the Steves in the front office still have their heads up their asses and are still smelling each other's farts. Anyway, back to the race still. Verstappen led the early portions until he got passed by Carlos Sainz. And then Leclerc would get the lead on pit strategy in the undercut. And then once Leclerc got the lead, it was really him and Sainz 1-2 the rest of the race. As even though Sainz tried to gain a little bit, Leclerc just was too fast for him. And honestly, thank fucking God Ferrari didn't pull team orders. Thank God. Let them fucking race. Thank God. But behind them, though, we would have a battle for the final spot on the podium between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, as they had a pretty hearty scrap throughout the closing laps of the race. But, of course, Leclerc, he would go on and get his third win of the season, winning at Coda. And it's the first time that Ferrari has won in America since 2018. The first time, though, they finished 1-2 in America since the 2006 U.S. Grand Prix at Indianapolis. But it's their first win in the U.S. since Kimi Räikkönen in 2018 at Coda, ironically. So yeah, Ferrari reigns supreme in America, and join them on the podium will be Lando Norris, as Lando gains 3 points on Verstappen in the Genjutsu. Because, hold up, we have a penalty. Beep. As in the closing laps, Lando Norris would get the outside on Verstappen, but Verstappen would force Lando off the track, and they both would violate track limits. But the FIA would rule it, and after Verstappen kept crying like a little bitch on the radio, even though it's Verstappen's own goddamn fault that he forced Lando wide, FIA decided to give Lando a BS 5-second penalty to Lando Norris for violating track limits and using to gain an advantage. It's like that's bullshit. Lando was already ahead when Verstappen forced him off the track. But I guess that's what happens when Verstappen races you like a douche. You get penalized. Honestly, penalize fucking Verstappen for racing people like a douche. Fucking horseshit penalty. And even despite Lando's best efforts in the closing laps, Lando could not make that 5-second penalty meaningless, as he was 4 seconds ahead of Verstappen at the end, and that's not enough to hold the podium spot. So Max Verstappen ends up going to the podium and gains 3 points on Lando in the championship. And that might have been the big killer to any hope of Lando gaining ground on Verstappen in the championship, with 5 races to go. Like, that might have killed any hope of Lando winning the driver's title this year. Damn it. But yeah. So yeah, the one thing Lando could not have happened. But that was complete BS. Also in that situation, if McLaren thought that Lando was going to get a penalty, why didn't they just have him let Verstappen back by and to not get a penalty? Because Lando could have easily got back by him in those closing laps. But yeah, just pretty disappointing. Even despite F1 having some good moments. And another great crowd at Coda once again. You know, there's still some blemishes here, as yeah, it was an alright race, but it's kind of disappointing that Lando got screwed off some FIA ref ball. God damn it. Seems like the type of bullshit NASCAR will do to manufacture more drama. And what a leadway right into the Cup race at Las Vegas. So yeah, once again, Vegas had another great race. This race absolutely delivered. Like, Christopher Bell had the fast car throughout much of the race, but Reddick would win stage 1. And then moments after, and in Reddick, it's like, oh, Reddick may have a chance to go to Final 4, and that's gone. As of course, at the start of stage 2, we would have a multi-car crash that would involve chasers Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, and Ryan Blaney, which would end with Tyler Reddick actually flipping on the front stretch, as he had the car sliding in the grass until he hit the quarter-mile apron in the tri-oval. And then Reddick would do a barrel roll before landing back on all 4 wheels, as he would drive the car to pit road, but the right front wheel was completely fucked. So Reddick was done for the day. Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney would continue on, but they would finish multiple laps down, as now all 3 of them will face some uphill battles for the next 2 races at Homestead and Martinsville. Damn, Reddick is really trying to do his best Martin Truex Jr. 2023 impersonation. As Reddick looked really good for the first 26 races, and now the last 7 races he's turned into complete fucking goop. And of course, Larson had a chance to compete up front with Bell until Larson had some pit road issues that put him a lap down. But Larson, he would end up battling back to finish 11th in the race. But of course, it looked like Bell had the car to beat until the final round of pit stops, when Bell would make the stop to get 4 tires and fuel, and he would hold off late charges from Bowman and William Byron. But however, up front, Joey Logano would play the fuel mileage game, along with Daniel Suarez. And then Logano, he would get the lead from Suarez with 5 to go, when the 22 team tell Logano that Bell may not catch him before the end of the race. Even despite Bell's efforts, Bell would get all the way up to second on the white flag, but he fell about a lap or 2 short from passing Joey Logano. It also added in the fact that Blaney, who was multiple laps down, had team orders to help Logano win. To also add in Logano's favor. So despite Bell's best efforts, he just could not get to Joey Logano in time, as Bell just simply ran out of time. So the bell does not toll for C-Bell in Vegas. Instead, the bell tolls for Logano. As Joey Logano once again wins at Las Vegas on fuel mileage. And for the 6th goddamn time, Joey Logano has bullshitted his way into the Final 4 on an even number year. Wow, who could have fucking seen that coming the moment Logano got put back in the chase after Bowman got wrongfully disqualified last week? In fact, I'm gonna put my conspiracy theory hat on and say that Bowman actually didn't fail post-race and that NASCAR just simply made it up just so Logano could keep the even number Final 4 streak alive. Because I think it's becoming very clear that NASCAR wanted Logano in the Final 4 so goddamn much they had to literally disqualify Bowman just to give Logano a shot to making it on an even number year again. Because let's not fucking kid ourselves. Logano has no fucking business being anywhere near the Final 4. It's absolute blasphemy. Motherfucker's been 15th in points all year. He's only had 6 top 5 finishes. And half of those 6 top 5 finishes are his 3 wins. Like you look at those numbers. How are those numbers good enough to be qualified as a championship contender? And he literally would have gotten eliminated last week had Bowman not been disqualified. And now Logano gets to compete for a championship because legitimacy means fucking nothing in this sport. Like, honestly, Logano making the Final 4 this year, it just proves that the first 26 races are fucking meaningless and that it doesn't matter if you're good or mediocre or not. If you can put together some couple solid weeks and get a couple good wins at the right time, you have a shot to compete for a title under this format. It's so fucking broken. Like, honestly, we can rant all we want about this format, but it's honestly the same stuff we said every year, the last couple years. To where at this point, it's just regurgitating the same old shit all over again. But yeah, it's always fucking Logano, though. Logano is somehow the luckiest driver in the goddamn sport. Honestly, Logano, take that fucking going horseshoe you got from Jimmy Johnson and shove it high. It seems like Logano's the only one that could somehow ass his way into wins and now in the Final 4s. And it's already bad enough he already has 2 Mickey Mouse titles added to his name that came at Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain's expenses. And most likely, he's gonna probably add a 3rd title at Phoenix in 3 weeks, because I would not be surprised in the fucking slightest if Logano ends up winning the championship this year. Consider, remember the last time, 2 years ago, when we had so much parity with this car? Well, guess what? We have parity with this car again. And oh yeah, who won the title 2 years ago? Oh, it was Logano. Yeah, all of that parity. And we're most likely going to end up with a Joey Logano championship and all this. God help us all. And out of the potential 3 titles, this one would easily be his most Mickey of the 3. At least the other 2, he was at least a top 5 driver in 2018 and 2022. So you can at least make that argument saying he at least deserved to be in the Final 4. I mean, 2018, he was the best of the non-Big 3 drivers, so there's that. So, yeah, but, Logano's still the biggest Mickey Mouse driver in all of the sport. Like, easily won, no doubt. This 100% proves that Logano is the most overrated driver in the fucking sport today. No doubt. Can Logano win a legit championship one day? Maybe, but I seriously have my doubts. So, yeah. And honestly, Logano's keep in mind, Logano only made the chase this year because he survived a 5 OT shit show in Nashville. And don't even get started on Atlanta. Super Speedway wins are not that fucking impressive anymore. And for anyone goes in the comments saying, oh, you're just mad because it's Logano, and if it was anybody else, you'd be praising like a god. Nah, bitch, we've been complaining about drivers like this making the Final Four since this format was first incepted and out of Brian Francis' drunk, coked out mind. Like, there was a lot of outrage over this when Ryan Newman made the Final Four in 2014. There was a lot of outrage in 2016 when Jimmy Johnson and Carl Edwards made the Final Four. When Johnson and Edwards in 2016 were around 8th and 12th in points throughout the year, respectively. And don't even forget about when Crafton won the Truck Series title in 2019 without winning a single fucking race in a championship chase format that's designed to specifically put a bigger emphasis and reward winning over everything else. And then said format produced the first winless champion in Truck Series history. Like, hell, did you all not see the outrage at Daytona when Harrison Byrne won and locked himself into the chase? And that outrage was only because of the fucking winning in stipulation. When everyone realized the ramifications of that win. And that was for an underdog win. Like, when in NASCAR has anyone ever been pissed off about an underdog win? Rarely, never. Except now because of the fucking ramifications with the stupid chase format. And honestly, NASCAR, you're not making your case any better in terms of the lawsuit. You're not getting many people on your side right now. And also trying to fuck 2311 and Front Row out by stripping them of their charters next season, that's not going to help your case either. It just shows you're just a bunch of petty little bitches that can't handle Denny Hamlin and company telling the truth about yous. It just shows how insecure NASCAR is. Like, honestly, do you blame people like me or Space Metal or What If possibly considering leaving NASCAR for good after this season? Do you blame anybody for thinking it? Like, honestly, especially when people think that Logano this year being 15th in points in the definition of mediocre all season, and a lot of people in this community think that Logano making the Final Four this year despite being terrible all year is a good thing? Oh, dear God. That there alone is why nobody takes NASCAR seriously, especially in the last 10 races. And it's also the reason why NASCAR constantly gets their ass kicked in the last 10 races of the season by the NFL. And honestly, Marco Rivera, you could go on and complain and say that the NFL's overrated all you want, but it doesn't change the fact that the NFL will still constantly bend NASCAR over in the ratings like a Vietnamese hooker. So he could say the NFL's overrated all he wants, but at the end of the day, overrated sport will still bend NASCAR over in the ratings. And that's no bull. So yeah, just very disappointing. It was a great race, but a very disappointing outcome. And we're most likely going to get the worst case scenario in the championship, which is Logano getting another Mickey Mouse championship. Penske Racing is easily becoming the Mickey Mouse organization in NASCAR, as they'll most likely get their third straight Mickey Mouse title. God, I'm starting to hate fucking Penske Racing more than goddamn Joe Gibbs Racing. And I didn't even think that was even humanly possible, considering my favorite driver in IndyCar, Joseph Newgarden, races for Penske. But hey, if the shoe fits, I guess. But yeah, it was a good race, but pretty disappointing ending. Honestly, I wanted Seabell to win the race. He fucking deserved to win. Just to keep Logano's ass from out of the fucking Final Four. But once again, we have to deal with Logano once again bullshitting his way into Final Four again. So there are 4 guarantees in life. Death, taxes, access to free porn, and Joey Logano bullshitting his way into the Final Four on an even number year. In fact, we've had 3 drivers in each series that were mediocres all hell bullshit their way in the Final Four this year. First, we had Grant Enfinger in trucks, who's been mediocre all season, bullshit his way into the Final Four because he won a super speedway race. We had AJ Allmendinger BS his way into the Final Four. after being completely mediocre all season, all of a sudden showing up conveniently at one of his best oval tracks. And now Joey Logano, despite being 15th in points all fucking season, is going to bullshits his way into the Final Four again. Honestly, can't wait in 3 weeks to see him get another Mickey Mouse fucking title, because fuck my life. But yeah, just very disappointing. But anyway, let's take a look at the Chase standings now before I want to go fucking drink some bleach. So here are the Xfinity Chase Grid standings after Vegas. So Allmendinger gets the first spot in, despite being mediocre as hell all season. So 3 spots up for grabs, still with 2 races left. Allgaier right now in a really good position, 32 points above the cut line. But Homestead and Martinsville can be some pretty crazy wild card tracks. You got Cole Custer in a pretty good position, 16 points above the cut line. And then it's a 2-man battle for that last spot between Chandler Smith and Austin Hill, 8 points separating those two for the last spot with 2 races to go. Then you got Jesse Love, 13 points below the cut line. Still in a solid position in 2 weeks, but he's going to need some help to get in there. And then you got Sam Mayer, who had another rough run, as he's now 23 points below the cut line. As Mayer, he can make up 23 points in 2 weeks without a win, but he's going to need to start running well at Homestead and Martinsville and will need a lot of outside help to make it in. And then Sammy Smith, it's going to be hard for Sammy to make up 53 points in the next 2 races after his struggles at Vegas. Like, I effectively think Sammy Smith is in a must-win situation entering Homestead and Martinsville. But that's where the Xfinity Chase Grid standings stand entering Homestead next week. Now here are the Cup standings for the Chase Grid entering Homestead next week. As Logano, being 15th in points all year, bullshits his way into the Final Four again. So now 3 spots remain with 2 races to go in the round of 8. And yes, the standings are as crooked and broken as the Chase format itself. As Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson, they're all in really good position points-wise, 42 and 35 points above the cut line. And Byron holds the last spot while commanding 27 points over Denny Hamlin. But keep in mind, that 27-point gap doesn't mean anything if one of the 4 drivers below the cut line wins within the next 2 weeks. So yeah, it's a good gap points-wise, but as we've seen before, under this format, no points gap is safe. But if someone below that cut line wins, then Larson and Byron battle for that last spot. And right now, only 8 points separate Larson and Byron. And then it's 15 points separating Bell and Byron. As yeah, Hamlin 27 below, Reddick 30 below, Blaney 47 below, and Elliott 53 below. Now, Reddick and Hamlin, they could possibly make up those points in the next 2 races, but they would need a lot of help. While Blaney and Elliott, I don't think they make up their points gap in the next 2 weeks. I think Blaney and Elliott are both in must-win situations for the next 2 weeks. But it's going to be pretty interesting, though. But in the end, despite any interest, we're still going to probably get the worst-case scenario, which is Logano winning a 3rd championship because life is bullshit. I'm out. Can't wait to see what bullshit happens at Homestead next week.